So, Roberto has listened to my plea and he dropped this studio portrait for me to tamper with. I would like to read the image in two different ways this time, the first of which is quite straightforward, while the second is a bit more involved. I've prepared an ALCE 30 level which I am now going to turn on, and you can easily see the usual enhancement, which nevertheless gives us a bit of a problem this time. As it often happens with portraits, we must be very careful when we try to enhance local contrast because it's far too easy to turn a human being into a reptile. ALCE is gentler than other techniques, but the effect here is plainly too much. Look at the image more closely and you'll realize what I mean. This is with ALCE, this is the original. This is with ALCE. Yes, reptilian kind of skin. Please also notice the light halo around the head. We of course already know several ways to turn the effect down a bit, and the easiest one would be to reduce the opacity of the layer, but I think that's for beginners and we may find better ways. Option number 1. Put the layer in darken mode. This immediately removes the light halo, which is lighter than the original and also limits the effect to the dark halos. This is exactly what we saw in the mannequin picture a while ago. Option number 2. Leave the layer in normal mode and use a layer mask. The blue is always the darkest channel in the faces, and we may apply the blue either from the background or the ALCE layer itself. I don't expect to see huge changes between the two, so let's just try. Image menu, apply image. Blue channel, from the background, from the ALCE layer. Again from the background, from the ALCE layer. I think the ALCE layer gives us a marginally better result, and by toggling the preview button we may see the unmasked version and the result. Okay. Option number 3, and the most interesting in my opinion. While the blue is the darkest channel in the faces, the red is the lightest one. So, we may think to apply the red inverted. Again, we have a choice between the background and the ALCE layer, yet I guess that the ALCE layer is best. Let's try. Image menu and apply image again, normal mode, and check with the red from background, but inverted this time. And now the inverted red from the ALCE layer. The halo is less evident in this case, while the rest of the image remains basically identical. Can you guess why? Again, background, ALCE layer. Yes, I'll live with this version. The last thing I need to do is blur the mask a bit, because in cases like this, I may sometime get some additional detail by smoothing the transition between the two layers, for that is what I'm doing with the mask, blending the ALCE and the background layer. A blur around 20 pixels may do, so filter, blur, Gaussian blur, 20 pixels, and yes, it works better. Let's zoom at 100% and toggle between the blurred and unblurred version with Command Z. You notice that the version with the blurred mask has some additional snap? Very well, and so I'm finished. Well, almost. I am finished if I think of this as a portrait. But what if this was a fashion shot instead? It might as well be, and in such case I would need to enhance the sweater more than the face, which should remain more or less as in the original in that case. I may of course let ALCE go all the way and make a layer mask so that I may paint the face away and let the original show through. But the truth is that I hate painting and prefer to let Photoshop do it for me. What I need then is a mask for the ALCE layer, which is white where the sweater is and dark in the face. I may probably get there by curving the red channel, but that may be boring, and so I'd like to show you another technique which relies on simply observing the image. The first thing I notice about this image is that we only have one element in color, that is the face, and the rest is substantially neutral. Which is fantastic news, also because in addition to this, we only have one color and not many, and the color of the face could be labeled as red. So, let's get to work. First, let me delete the layer mask I've just created and disable the ALCE layer, because I need to work on the original. So, select the background layer and open a new adjustment layer of Selective Color Correction. This thing allows you to target and change certain colors only. That's why it's called Selective. choose reds, make sure the absolute radio button is enabled and push black all the way up. As I toggle the layer on and off, please notice how much darker the face looks when the correction is applied, while the rest remains totally unchanged. Now, put this layer in difference mode. All the areas where there were no changes, basically the grey areas, will be black. The others, that is the face, will have some kind of variation instead. Okay, now, stamp visible. Remember, hold down the Alt key and select Merge Visible from the Layer menu to create a layer containing a copy of this eerie image. We're after a mask, so we don't need any color. So, Image menu, Adjustments, Desaturate to turn this into a grayscale image. Now, let's give the mask life by selecting Auto Tone from the Image menu. So, we're left with a fantastic mask. Well, almost. It's the opposite of what we need. We want to have the face dark and the jumper white, so we need to invert it. Again, Image menu, Adjustments, Invert. At this point, we may forget about the adjustment layer, which we don't need anymore, for all we need is to apply this to the original ALCE layer. So, let's turn it on again. Apply the image we just created as a layer mask in normal mode, click OK and trash the layer containing the mask. I suggest to curve this a bit to enhance the contrast and there we are, enhancement just where we need it, in the sweater and in the eyes, while the skin is blended in from the original. I will now turn the layer mask off by shift-clicking on it, just to show you how much an overcorrection detracts from the subject, which is now the sweater and not the face. This is without the mask, this is with the mask. Again, without. I definitely notice the face too much, whereas with the mask, the attention goes to the sweater. Compare this to the original. Quite a boost in the sweater, huh? So, fashion image correction at no cost. Just through a hopefully clever look at the original image and, of course, ALCE.